Say less. Yeah, no, CU, the letter C, the letter U, and I think it's SY or NY. I never even heard of it, but it's like she's on a lot.
Guys,
so it's got to be strictly in New York.
Roger, we're live.
So there's so many channels now you can't follow it.
Don, we're live.
That old news channel the other day when they were doing the thing on the kidnapping, they were out there all night, and no other channel even had it.
Hey, Don, we're live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday night sports conversation. This is on the Fighting Boys Network, and we, of course, invite you to join us and listen to some of the experts we have around the country. We've got a good group of people today. As always, Cummings always covers the first half hour from Tampa, Florida, with all the things happening there. One of the great baseball players of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Larry Bowl, will join us a half hour later. So we've got a great deal of baseball conversation to talk about. Darrell Ledbetter, a Hall of Fame writer in Georgia, formerly of Green Bay, and just got into the Hall of Fame a year ago. And, of course, Mike Zimzak and Doug Hamilton with soccer and also with PGA, a master PGA professional. And we could talk about Arizona, the tournament last week, which was sensational. And one going on right now where they're back home in L.A. after last year having to move out of L.A. But before we start the sports conversation, our executive producer, Frank Carroll, has a little bit of a dedication that he likes to go to. Frank?
Yeah, and one of the guys who works for us is going through a big thing right now. He's one of the kindest, most generous person you ever meet. In fact, his heart's as big as that 6'4" frame of his. He was born 21 years ago today. He's a very giving person, a very loving person, and he's just finishing up his degree in engineering, and he's going on to architecture next year. So we're dedicating tonight's program to my grandson, Brady Quinn Basso.
There you go, Brady. Brady joined us many times over the years. He was a big part of the show in the early days when Tommy first started out with Frank. I guess about 15 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And so glad to see he's made it through undergraduate, now going into architectural, and we congratulate him and congratulate you as the grandfather. So, yeah. Frank, thank you very much for the dedication tonight. Mm-hmm. All right, let's switch over because we got so many topics that are right on target tonight. First of all, we have to start with the United States team in the Olympic Games. For those of you that had a chance to watch it this afternoon, quite a game, overtime, and the United States finally snuck out with a 2-1 win. Roy, you're our hockey expert, to say the least, and they got a little lucky in the first period. They even got a little lucky in the second period. They got some goals that were turned away that they could have found themselves in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, a lot of U.S. hockey fans breathing a big sigh of relief after that one. It just goes to show you that nothing is guaranteed here. I mean, everybody seems to think that this is going to end up with Canada playing U.S. For the gold medal. But, Sweden is so good. Finland is so good. Germany's really good, too. Czechia is, very good. These teams are just loaded. And, you have one false mistake, one great shot, from somebody, and you could be out. It could happen that quickly. So the U.S., if anybody's waiting, well, it's not going to be part of the primary show tonight, so I'm not giving anything away. But U.S. got fortunate there. They got the goal in overtime to win from Quinn Hughes, who's having an incredible series so far. Tremendous Olympics, as is the entire U.S. team. So got a break today and won a tough one. A game that was really pretty tight checking. I mean, not a whole lot of great scoring chances for either team. As you said, both goalies were really solid, and they needed to be at times. But for the most part, really kind of a tight checking game. Not a lot of real good, clean shots for either team, and that made scoring, a bit difficult. And it proved out in a 2-1 overtime victory for the U.S. So they move on, thankfully, as You know what was great about the tournament today? 4 overtime games today, quarterfinals in the men's group, all overtime games today. So I'll tell you, hockey's getting a great. They're putting on a great show in Italy for the hockey fans for sure in the Olympics.
Well, we talked about it during the course of the season, how so many of these young players have gone and have done such a terrific job. And, of course, it's carrying over now into the Olympic Games as well. And, Roger, I don't know if you were probably teaching school this afternoon, didn't have a chance to see much of the hockey game, but if you did, a comment or two from you.
No, I did not, because I only got home. I went to see a 4 o'clock right from school. In school, I just went to the arena right there and to see the girls basketball team again. You know, I'm really tracking this freshman on South Forsyth High School. She's being tracked by big-time coaches, and she's only a freshman. Her name's Karig Morris. So I went to see him, and that was the beginning of 4 games tonight because the regionals have started here, and so then there was a boys game next, another girls game, and then another boys game. So a big night, and I was there so I could handle it at 4 o'clock. But the women also won, correct? Yesterday.
Yeah, the women won yesterday, and that's going to be a Canada-U.S. Final.
And they've been dynamite. The women they've not even been challenged. They're killing everybody.
They really have. I was going to bring that up next, so I'm glad you did, Roger. Don't underestimate the U.S. women, and they have been absolutely dominant. They've scored 5 goals at least in every game. They've only given up 1 goal the entire tournament. They've been playing exceptionally well. Right now, I think they can give the men a game. That's how well they're playing. So, looking forward to that. They will play Canada in the championship game there, the gold medal game there. And I believe that's tomorrow, and that's going to be special too. So, because that's a tremendous rivalry, just as it is with the men.
Yes, it is tomorrow. And number one, I was going to go to that next, but I wanted to get to finish with the men's team first. The thing you don't want to happen today. Sidney Crosby went down. The National Hockey League is always lower body injury. Nobody's saying exactly what it means. Is he going to be able to continue and play? Is he going to have to wait to come back to the National Hockey League when the schedule resumes? A lot of speculation there, Roy.
Yeah, and typically, the NHL, they're not going to give you a whole lot of information. But, so we'll see exactly what happens there. I'm not going to rule Sidney Crosby out at all. He's got a couple of days here to get himself right. So we'll see where it goes. But hopefully he can come back. It'd be, for the Olympics, that is, that they certainly going to need him on Team Canada, no matter who they play. And but one thing that's really interesting is, the real star. He's having, again, Sidney Crosby having a tremendous Olympics, yet again. But so is Macklin Celebrini. That kid, there was some question whether he would make Team Canada, going into the Olympics, and the decision was made pretty early on that he was going to be part of the team. But at the beginning of the hockey season, there was a lot of question. Would you bring this kid on? Because he hasn't played a whole lot of international experience, having come from the U.S. college ranks. And they put him on there, and he's just been exceptional. 5 goals, 4 assists, got 9 points. He's found a spot right there in the mid slot, and he's shooting one-timers like Steven Stamkos used to shoot. Shoots it from the right corner or from the left face-off dot. So he's been tremendous. So even if they're missing Sidney Crosby, I think Team Canada will still be a formidable foe. Because Macklin Celebrini is having an Olympics to remember for a lifetime.
That was the way they were looking at it going in. They were saying it was going to be Canada and the United States. And, of course, it's really a little bit of a touch and go in Tampa, Florida, because Coop's pretty close to both teams when it comes to that, Roy.
Yeah, it's, I'll tell you what, the Lightning, have players all over the map in these Olympics. Victor Hedman didn't play for Sweden today. He's got a lower body injury that he suffered last night in Sweden's game, so he didn't play today. But yeah, you got the coach coaching Canada, along with 2 or 3 players from Canada. From the Lightning on Team Canada, you got Jake Gensel for the U.S. team. Victor Hedman for the Swedes. I mean, they're everywhere. And if the Russians were playing, they'd have Vasilevsky and Kucherov as well. So it's quite interesting, to see teammates going against each other. That's one of the kind of intriguing things about the Olympics is and today, I mean, so let's say Quinn Hughes scores the game-winning goal in overtime against his own goaltender from the New Jersey Devils, Jacob Markstrom. So, we see a little bit of this here and there, and friends become foes real quickly in the Olympics. That's for sure.
And the 2 of them went out for a beer after the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I promise you that as great as he feels about scoring that game-winning goal, Quinn Hughes feels probably just as bad that it had to come against his teammate for the Devils. So, all right, I'm no longer the Devils, but now with New Jersey. So it's because Quinn Hughes is now with Minnesota. So but either way, still.
Well, I just want to start the show off talking about things more relevant this afternoon and early this evening, so we can touch on the Crosby situation, the U.S. hockey team winning 2-1 in overtime, all the things that happened either late this afternoon or early this evening. So, but I also want to jump around to the number one story yesterday. And the number one story yesterday, gentlemen, we'll start with you this time, Roger. Tony Clark.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. And then after you read the details, not surprised. Of course, my first thought was, is this going to make negotiations maybe a little better, okay, as far as between the players and management? But I don't know. I mean, I think when you get these big time agents involved, sometimes I think they have more influence than the head of the executive director of the union. But I mean, the whole situation is really bad, and but he had no alternative but to quit. Number one, and but I'd love to have what you're feeling. All of you feel about the future. I know we talked about. We think there's going to be a shutdown of the game next year, but I'm just wondering if anything will get better because of him leaving.
Roy, I'll let you touch on that first.
Well, I'm not sure anything really needs to get better. Players are making, Kyle Tucker just signed a $60 million a year contract. Shohei Ohtani's got 10 years of $10 million a year coming to him or whatever when it's all said and done. The game's making more money than ever. The players are making more money than ever. The game is rising in popularity again after a bit of a difficult time, a decade or so ago. I think the game's in great shape. I think the commissioners made some really interesting decisions regarding rules that are good rules, and I think there's more coming. I think the game's more entertaining right now than it has been in a few years. I'll be shocked, guys, if this thing breaks down in some form or fashion that results in a stoppage of play. I just don't see that happening, no matter who the executive director of the Players Association is. I think Tony Clark did a fine job. Again, he's been in charge of all this, and the players have been right there, pretty much in lockstep with the league in terms of these rules that have come in. We haven't seen a whole lot of balking from their part, pardon the pun, but not a whole lot of arguments against the rules that have the bigger bases and the pitch clock and things like that. Players have gone right along with it, and I think they're happy with the results. So I don't really see much of an interruption here. I know it's a big story. There's a lot of issues here with Tony Clark. A personal matter, obviously, and then possibly some funds going maybe in the wrong place. We don't know all the details of either one of those, but clearly it was enough for him to have to step down. And maybe they just it could be that instead of dragging something out through the press and with speculation about what went on with I guess it's his sister-in-law or whatever, the employee that he had supposedly some kind of a relationship with that he shouldn't have had, and the situation with the funds possibly not going to where they're supposed to go. Maybe it was just they just kind of felt like, hey, you know what? Instead of turning this into something ugly that's going to take the focus off the game on the field, let's just move on and bring in somebody new, and that may have been part of the equation here. I don't know for sure, but again, at the end of the day, I don't think it'll take long for the Players Association to come up with a new director, and whoever that director is, again, I think he's working from a position of strength because again, the players are they're doing the best they've done ever in the history of the game, and so the game is on the rise again. So I can't see either side creating a situation here that would result in a stoppage of play. I just don't see it.
Okay, I don't necessarily disagree with you, Austin Roy, but I do on this one. Tony Clark, in my view, has been very, very weak all the way through. He came in 13 and has been in that chair. And two events, one the personal matter, and of course the money that's still being investigated by the Players Association, not by the owners. This is all by the Players Association. And so he was pretty much going our anyway and had been really expected or had been anticipated that he would go anyway because they thought he was so weak that he did not handle the job very well over the number of years that he was there. Number two, as best I can see from the New York Post and some of the others, the assistant director is the one that's going to take over. I think his name is Mayer, that he's going to be the one that's going to take over, and that the players are saying they're in lockstep with the new director when he is named, which should be, if it wasn't done this afternoon, it will be done, I think, tomorrow or the next day. But they were very, very unhappy with what Tony had been doing since 13, and they didn't think that he was forceful enough, directed enough, and then the financial problems that went along with it. I don't know if you read much about that, Roger, or not, but they were unhappy with a lot of things with him.
Well, I saw a little bit about it, and because I think this just hit today or yesterday, and I just at first I was surprised because you've heard him, and with this the CBA negotiation, that's what I was really talking about, Roy. Was not about the popularity or the contracts. Just that there's a number of us that feel there is going to be a work stoppage, and that was my point. Whether this would help the contract, the CBA negotiation with somebody else.
I understand that. I understand exactly what you're saying, Roger. I'm pointing out that I don't see a work stoppage coming because it's ridiculous to stop it. Why would the players stop it? Why would they stop? Why would the owners stop the game?
I don't think it's the players, Roy. I think the owners. They want a cap. They want they're.
Well, I don't think they all want a cap either. I mean, I don't think they all want a cap. If they wanted a cap, they could create a cap. It's not, granted, it's got to be collectively bargained, but you got plenty. You've got a soft cap now. And a dozen teams or more go over the cap, and they don't necessarily win. So there's obviously the luxury tax penalties and things like that. But the teams that pay those penalties don't seem to mind paying them. And there's plenty of ways to build a winner. I mean, we've seen it happen in Tampa Bay. We've seen it happen in Kansas City. We've seen it happen in Arizona. We've seen it happen in New York. Spending the most money doesn't necessarily guarantee you a championship.
Right.
And I don't think they want to get into a position where that happens. Now, you could have a salary floor. That, I think, might be something that comes up. But, but yeah, still, look, we don't know the reasons because we don't know the details behind the situation with Tony Clark. We don't know all the details. So until we know more details and facts, it's going to be hard to know what, led to his departure here. If the players are, if he was so weak, well, then why was he in for so long? And what is it that the player, what specifically, and Donna, I turn to you on this because I haven't seen anything that I haven't read anything that, about Tony Clark that says, what the players are complaining about. Do you have any specifics on that? Do you know? And I'm just asking, for information's sake. I don't know what it is that he's done that's so weak.
Well, we're gonna have Larry Bow on in the next half hour, and I don't know how much Larry can tell us about what the Player Association is thinking or where Tony Clark stands, or I'm hopeful that we get much more affirmative information about what's actually going on and what he thinks the outcome is going to be. Is there going to be? Because most of the people that we've had on the show, to be honest with you, Roy, are not optimistic. I agree with you. You would say, what are they complaining about? They're making so much money. They're way over the cap, most of these teams that are spending money anyway. What difference does it make? Well, I don't know. I don't know what the plan.
I agree. I would like to know if what the problem is because in terms of work environment, things like that. You can't. Look, they charter everywhere they go. It's not really. I don't know what the baseball players could be complaining about. But I'll say this, guy, since we don't really know what the reason behind the resignation was with Tony Clark. Now we can guess that it was the relationship. It could have been that. It could have been the situation with the funds.
There's no unholy union. Right on the back page of the New York Post today, Major League Baseball Players Association, Big Clark out due to inappropriate relationships with his sister-in-law. Forget the other charges about the money. He had to get out because of that.
I read the same article, and they didn't. Nobody's saying that's the reason he's out. Now, when it was uncovered that he had the relationship, he was out the next day. But what I was about to say was, we don't know that, and this is alluding to what you're saying, Don, is that maybe the players do consider him too weak, and they've been pushing him to get out. And one thing just led to another, and it just happened to be a matter of circumstance that on the day that we find out about this, irregular relationship or whatever this relationship is, that he decides, if I'm not the guy to move forward with this group, then let's move on now, before it's too late and we get too deep into the negotiation. Maybe that's it. For all we know, maybe they do think Tony Clark was too weak, and they wanted someone else negotiating the next CBA. That could be it, But I got to be honest. I think the funds probably matter more than anything. But again, we don't have any details at all on what this relationship is with with Tony Clark and his sister-in-law. We have no idea. All we know is there's someone in quotes has this relationship thing, and I don't quite.
Hello.
Hey, Larry, it's Frank. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Welcome to Florida. Hey, thanks for doing the show. We're just finishing up with Roy Cummings, so we're going to go right to you.
Pardon?
Automatically resigns. I don't know of one person that has been suggested in any of these cases that has involuntarily resigned, whether you work for Morgan Stanley or whether you work for, one of the other banks or finance companies. Everybody is resigning because of the fact they've been associated with some kind of relationship like this.
Well, look, I think there's a big difference. I don't think Tony Clark's sister-in-law is 17 years old or younger. Number one. Number two, not everybody in the Epstein case has resigned. There's at least 1,000 people out there who are mentioned in those files who have yet to even, their names haven't even come up, and been accused of wrongdoing, and nothing's happened. Granted, there's a good dozen or so people who have resigned from positions.
Right.
Some have been forced out, but not everybody for sure. And I wouldn't compare what Tony Clark, what his situation is, to what's going on with the Epstein thing in any way.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what the relationship with.
My point is,
we don't know what the sister-in-law is.
Well, second. My point is, we don't know. Just because the New York Post of all, it's not quite the New York Times. Just because the New York Post comes out and says it doesn't make it true. So, there could be a lot of reasons behind his resignation, outside of, this relationship with his sister-in-law, whatever that relationship was. So, and again, we don't even know what that relationship is. Until we get details, it's just a matter of someone moving on, and they've got, close to a year here before they have to worry about, the game being shut down. So it's certainly not going to be shut down anytime soon, I don't think. So.
Oh, we'll close it out, Roger. We'll close it out with this, Roger, and also.
I'm going to give you a couple of points. Forget the girlfriend, okay? The EDNY was looking into allegations that Clark and the Major League Baseball Players Association had misused funds from a licensing agreement. And
$1 million. $1 million.
10, I think. 10 million.
Oh, 10? I thought it was.
Yeah. And the initial reports and ESPN reported that it was tied to a federal probe, which had expanded into prosecutors looking at allegations of the obstruction. Now, here's what gets me. All of it in this story, former NFL Players Association lawyer Heather McPhee alleged that Clark and former NFL Players Union boss Lloyd Howe had conducted a pressure campaign to shut down a thorough review of a bonus plan that gave millions to one team, executive board meetings. So, members, I'm sorry. So one team is the licensing company co-owned by MLBPA and the Players Way. And Clark,
that was all in the Post today.
That's it. Well, that's it, of the Eastern District. So there's a federal investigation. The MLBPA, it was a $10 million and then something else, but I'm not going to go on.
Let's hold it right there, because Larry Bowl is on the line, and he's going to give us hopefully a little clearer explanation of all of the Tony and the players and the association and everything else. Roy, always a pleasure. We get into something every week, so we'll do it again next week. Thank you.
Pleasure's always mine, guys.
Have a great week, Roy.
Thanks, Roy.
All right, guys.
All right, our executive producer, Frank Carroll, has got a hold of Larry Bowen. Larry, are you there?
Yes, I am, Don. How are you?
I'm terrific, man. We're trying to find out something that you probably know a lot more about than we do.
I doubt that. I was listening a bit there at the end. This is all news to me today or yesterday. So, obviously, it's a pretty serious thing that's happening, or Tony, I don't think, would have resigned. So we'll see how this thing plays out. They got a big negotiations coming up at the end of this season, and it doesn't look good for right now, the way people are talking, both sides, that there could be either a lockout or a strike, but hopefully keep our fingers crossed when it doesn't happen.
Larry, Roy brought up a good point, and I really don't have an explanation for it. Maybe you do, because you've been through it in every phase as a player, a manager, a coach. What is it exactly? As Roy said, well, wait a minute, how can the players be unhappy when some of them are making hundreds of millions of dollars, and the cap seems to be irrelevant anyway? What is the problem here?
Well,
This is just me because it happened a little bit with us. The big stars are going to get their money no matter what. It's the guys in the middle that are very good baseball players or complimentary baseball players. And back when we played, they didn't want to pay those guys money. They wanted to basically have them move on and bring up the young kids and get them for their minimum, have them under their wing for 5 years. And I still think that's their motive. I'm not 100% sure on that. I do know this, though. I really don't believe, this is just me, I don't think they're going to get a salary cap. I mean, we fought for this stuff when I played, and before I even played, they were fighting for that. So I don't see that happening. Again, I could be way off base. They could have a cap. And the biggest thing, I think, is the owners of the small markets are getting they're getting annoyed at the big market teams that are constantly in the playoffs. And, of course, the Dodgers team comes into play a lot because, hey, they've been very successful at what they've done. They have a lot of money. They've deferred a lot of payments. And I think the small market teams are getting a little bit upset about that. I do have a remedy for that, though. That's just me. I think that the money that these small market teams get from the Phillies, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, all the big market teams, they get these checks that are the owners of these big market teams have to write out because they went over a certain amount of money. I say that those teams, when they get this check, they got to put that money on the field, the big league field, not in the minor leagues, not in their pocket. So if you get a check for, I'm just using round numbers, $100 million, it's got to go on the field. It's got to go on the field. And I think, I'm not saying it's going to fix the situation, but it'll make those teams more competitive, in my opinion.
Roger? Yeah, I think that's a great point, Larry. And one of the other things that I think that needs to be considered is that the Dodgers get an enormous amount of additional TV revenue because of having the Japanese players, because they get it from Japan. And I really think, hey, listen, whoever's playing the Dodgers, like Major League Baseball overall, should share in that money from Japan. I don't care about the Dodgers. Okay, I care about Major League Baseball. So take all that Japanese money and spread it around, and then make sure that goes on the field.
That's a very good idea right there. I believe that. Because the money they're getting from Japan is unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I heard, I don't know,
million or something like that.
Yeah, I heard, I don't know how true this is. It might just be a rumor. That before they play one game, the Dodgers, the money that they're getting is maybe it might be the Japan market or the TV contract the Dodgers have. They get $350 million before a pitch is thrown.
Right.
Which is unbelievable. Yeah.
That's just the TV. That's just the TV revenue.
Right. I mean, if that's true, that's the reason they can have that depth in their rotation. They got all these guys that they can put on the IL. They save their big boys till July or August, so they don't have a lot of innings pitched going into the playoffs. So they're doing everything legal, but they have the ability to spend money and put people on the IL, and then when it comes playoff time, they got their 4 or 5 guys that they count on. They could take them deep into the playoffs. And in the last couple of years, not only deep in the playoffs, but winning the World Series.
Well, we're going to get around to your team as well, the Philadelphia Phillies. We've talked now over the last couple of years, and you've really been very forthright about when they get to the playoffs. But I think right now, in 26, Larry, we're getting to the wall. If they don't get to the World Series this year, even though they've signed a lot of big money players, I think they're really going to have to be really struggle.
I agree with that. I mean, there comes a time with your baseball team that I'm not saying the window shuts, but a lot of our key players are getting into their mid-30s now. And I know that's not old in everyday living, but in sports now, that's considered, it's time to roll it over and get some young kids up here. I agree. This is a big year for us. For some reason, Don, as you well know, you follow baseball. whether it be a pitch, a play, and a bat, whatever it is, we've come up short. It sort of reminds me of us in 76, 77, 78. And then finally in 80, we got over the hump. But I agree with you. We got to get to the World Series. And again, you not only do you have to have the talent, you got to be lucky. You got to stay away from big injuries and everything. You got to get breaks here and there. It's hard to win. We won 96 games last year. I think the year before 95. That's hard to do. But yet, you know what? When you don't get over the hump, people start saying, well, I've already heard it on the talk shows in Philly. The Phillies are going to win the division, and then when the playoffs come in October, are we going to see the same thing happen? And I guess they're as frustrated as the players. They're as frustrated as the front office is right now. And the talent is there. There's no question about that. But we got to find a way to get over this hump.
Roger? Well, yeah, you're exactly right, Larry. And the other thing is it does affect season ticket sales.
Yeah.
You know, that people want to be in line for postseason. But they don't want to have a downer, okay, like they've had for several years. I know a teacher in Springfield that she, and her boyfriend, have had season tickets. But she told me after last year she wasn't going to get them this year. So I think, yeah, there you go. And but I think some other thing. You're down there. I was wondering. How do these players look that are expected to come in and really contribute this year?
They feel a sense of urgency. There's no question about that. People might not know or think this, but they're just as frustrated as everybody. Because they see the talent in the room. Go back to last year, the big play that we lost the game in L.A. If we win that game, they got to go back to Philadelphia, and they got to face Sanchez in Philly for a game-clinching game. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
we're talking about a tough play that wasn't made. We're talking about an umpire that missed a pitch that prolonged that one inning. So there's so many little intangibles that happened that everybody wants to look back at the last thing that happened. And in all fairness to Kirkering, should he have made that play? Yeah, but he's not the reason we lost. We had opportunities to win that game. We had scoring chances we didn't take advantage of. But everybody reverts back to the last play, and he was under the microscope. He handled it very professionally. He's in a good frame of mind right now. He's looking forward to this year. And the fact is he addressed the media. He didn't make any excuses, and I take my hat off to him. He's a young kid that could have very easily made some excuses. He said, I just messed up the play.
Larry Moore, our special guest this half hour, and we really appreciate Larry every time he comes on with us to talk about baseball and talk about the whole baseball gamut. But Larry, my question to you is, you went into the last season with the number 1 and number 2 starting pitchers, thinking you really had an edge. And then Wheeler went down, and how in this first couple of days or weeks of spring training, how is your number 1 and number 2 pitchers? How do they look?
Our pitching staff, I still like our pitchers. Even if Wheeler, it sounds like he's not going to start out of the gate. He's probably going to be maybe, 2-3 weeks behind. I'm sure they're going to take their time because it really doesn't make any sense, Don, to break camp here, go north where the weather's cold. We open up at home. So make sure he's 100% when he leaves here. But we still got 2 lefties that have so far in spring training have thrown the heck out of it. We've had simulated games with Sanchez and Luzardo who pitched lights out. And I know it's just starting, but I feel good about those 2 guys. Nola looks sharp. I just feel that if we can just stay afloat till Wheeler gets back, then everybody else will move down a notch. I think we're going to be in good shape. I like our bullpen. I like our lineup. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you we don't need Wheeler. We need Wheeler in the worst way, but we want Wheeler at 100%, not come back a little bit too soon before he's not ready. So we'll see how this plays out in spring training.
Roger?
Does Nola look real good, and that he's put yet last year in the rearview mirror and moving forward?
Yes, he does. And I think one of the reasons is, he's going to pitch in the WBC, so he's ramping it up to get ready for that. So he's ahead of schedule from normally he takes his time getting ready, but he's ramped it up a little bit. I think he looks very good right now. He's healthy. So we'll see how this plays out. And then our 4 and 5 starters right now, if we opened up, are probably going to be Pater and Walker. And Pater coming off Tommy John and usually takes a good year and a half. He's throwing the ball well. And Tyrell and Walker did a good job for us last year as a number 5 starter. So what we need, I think, is a little bit more depth in the rotation. Because as you well know, pitchers go down, whether it's on the IL for 2 weeks, whether it's longer than that. You need some inventory down at AAA that can solidify something if it happened at the big league level.
Let me ask you a question, Larry, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and the fact that the Phillies released a player.
Right.
They released a player because he was drinking beer in the dugout, which obviously everybody realizes is a no-no, and had his consecutive game streak ended at that point. But it was very quiet during the season. I mean, there was a little rumbling. There was some problems in the dugout. But $20 million, I mean, I don't mean it to belittle anybody, but how many guys that you played with made $20 million in their whole career? And they're paying this guy off $20 million not to play.
Yeah. That's a good point. I really don't think this, I mean, it had something to do with it, having a beer in the dugout. There's other things that went on that probably should have been taken care of behind closed doors. And Cassidy, once he got taken out of the game, he started, getting loud in the dugout. I think that was more of an issue than actually the beer in the clubhouse or in the dugout. If at the end he would have said, "Hey, I want to talk to you. Let's go in your office." I don't think it would have been made that big a deal, but it happened. It's ironic that none of that was shown on film. Maybe because we were playing in Miami and not a lot of fans there or anything, because usually that stuff's all over MLB or ESPN.
Right.
I saw absolutely nothing of that. And I guess it was sort of lucky, I guess, because that could have carried on all year. But it is what it is. And I think the other reason being, this is just my opinion, when it's sort of like we let it be known that Cassie's probably going to move on. And once other owners hear that and they know there's something going on there, they're not going to say, "I'm going to pay some of that salary." They're not going to give up prospects. If they know exactly that the Phillies are probably going to release him, they could get him for the minimum. And that's exactly what San Diego did. I think they're getting him, I don't know what the minimum is now, maybe $800,000. So the Phillies have to pick up most of that 20 mil minus the 800 that the Padres are going to pay him.
Roger?
Well, I wanted to ask you because, he's an infielder like you were the best, and Aiden Miller. Do you think that he can make this opening day roster, Larry?
I would say the opening day roster, in my opinion, no. He's going to be close, though. This kid's a big-time talent. He needs to play a little bit. He has to play. He's only 20 or 21 years old. And we got Bone playing third, and we got Trey Turner playing short. I don't see that happening. Now, if somebody should go down and be out for a month, it would shock me to see him there. But I think the perfect scenario right now would be let him go down to AAA, get his feet on the ground, because he's going to be playing short and third throughout the AAA season when they start off. And, hey, who knows? There might be a trade in the middle of the season where somebody gets traded and he's going to be ready to go. But this kid's a big-time talent. It's just a matter of time before he gets to the big leagues.
Well, Larry, not to put you on the spot, but when you were managing and/or coaching, was there ever a time that a situation like what happened in Philadelphia with the beer, whether it was known or not, that you had to take somebody aside and say, and either one-on-one with them or take them in the office or or do something to straighten out a problem, to straighten out the dugout?
Yeah, we had a couple. I mean, especially with a couple pitchers that get disgruntled if you take them out, or they weren't happy the way they were being used. But I've always said, if you guys got a problem, let's just come in and we'll talk it behind closed doors. You never want to put stuff out there in the open, especially in baseball. Man, you're playing every single day. Football, you're playing once a week. Hockey, 2 or 3 times a week. Basketball, the same. You're playing every day in baseball, and it just sort of festers when stuff like that starts to snowball. And it started to get a little bit uncomfortable at the end there. But again, I don't think that had anything to do with us not moving on from the Dodgers. We needed to play a little bit better, get a timely hit every now and then, and our pitching for the most part I thought was okay. But I don't know. You don't want little things like that, because like I said, if things start snowballing, the media in Philly, when they get something like that, they're going to run with it. And I would think that a lot of this stuff should be done with. I mean, I'm still reading about heart stuff that happened with Dombrowski, and that happened last winter. And they stay with it, and you got to try to nip it in the bud.
Well, you're exactly right. You got to end it,
Yeah.
And we're thinking about A.J. Brown and the Eagles.
Right.
It was a very similar situation, with
Exactly.
him opening up. But I really have always liked Johan Rojas. I think he's a real talent, and I just hope that last year's in the rearview mirror, and that he gets an opportunity, and that he has really improved. And I think he needs to get confidence, and he'll be okay. What do you think?
I think Johan Rojas is the best defensive outfield in the whole organization. I really do. I think he's a tremendous athlete. Now, we're in a little catch-22 here. Well, it sounds like that Crawford's going to start off as a center fielder. Now, do you let Rojas sit the bench and put, like if Crawford goes 0 for 8, is he going to go up there and say, if I don't get a hit tonight, is Rojas playing tomorrow? In my opinion, if Crawford's going to be the center fielder, Rojas has got to go down and play in case somebody gets hurt, and he's going to be ready. He's too young to sit the bench, and he's too talented to sit the bench. This guy's got a tremendous talent. He needs to grow up a little bit, and I think he has. Watching him this spring, he's still a young kid. He's got tremendous tools, but in my opinion, he's the best outfielder we have in the whole organization.
Larry, you were with the Yankees when A-Rod made the switch from shortstop to third. The Mets are doing the same thing now. You're going to get a player that's going to go from being one of the best shortstops in baseball to going over to play third base, and Sosa's going to go from right field to left field. The Mets, who seem to be dying on the vine before the last part of the trading deadline. I mean, they didn't have anybody, and all of a sudden they've got a bunch of players that look like they're going to be competitive again.
Well, I think I'm not counting anybody out in the East, but I think that right now it's going to be a 3-team race. I think Atlanta's definitely going to be better and healthier. The Mets have made some great moves, and I think we're going to be right there. Not counting out Washington or Miami. I just don't think they're ready. They got some good young talent. I do think those 2 teams in the East, usually you go in there, especially Washington and Miami, say, if we have a 3-game series, we got a chance of sweeping. I think these 2 teams are getting better. They're still young. And the East is going to be a competitive division, but I think the 3 teams are going to be the Mets, Atlanta, and the Phillies.
Roger? Yeah, the got a new manager, Walt Weiss, right, for the Braves.
Good baseball guy.
He is a great baseball guy.
Yep.
You're exactly right, and a lifer like you. And I think you're right. I think the Braves will. I think once again, it depends on the pitching. I mean, if you have good, solid pitching from top to bottom, you're going to be in the ball game, right, Larry?
No question. I think in the end, when you try to analyze everything, the team that's standing last, for the most part, has real good pitching. They play good defense, You very seldom see 11 to 10, 9 to 8 games in the playoffs of the World Series. So if you can, like I said, I love our bullpen. If our starting pitcher can do what they did and we definitely need Wheels back. He's a big part of us moving forward here. But I hope we just take it slow, pump the brakes a little, let him be 100% for sure. Stay away from the cold weather in April, and I think everything will be fine.
Well, you got to have those starting pitchers give you 7 or 8 innings. You can't have to go out in 4.5 or 5. You got to have to give you some time. And the other thing is, Larry, you just touched on it, the bullpen. The bullpen has been over the last couple of years at times okay, but also at times is very shaky.
Yeah, we've been inconsistent. There's no question about that. But over the course of the season, I think we've been pretty good. But again, you're right. We need our starting pitchers. I'm not saying you got to go 9 like it was back in the day, but you need your first 3 or 4 guys to go 7 innings. Now, when you have your number 5 starter only going 5 innings, you got a good rotation because everybody's 5 starters is a 5-inning pitcher. You need those first 4 guys to go a little bit deeper. If you start going to that bullpen, Don, in April and May, and you got your starting pitchers only going 5 innings or 6, you're going to wear that bullpen out by August. So it's important. It's important. There's no question about that your starting pitchers could start going a little bit deeper.
Roger?
Well, I think having the Rand for the whole season will help too. Now you know who the closer is, right? And,
yeah, I'm a big believer on that. When that phone rings from the 8th inning on, and rather than guys say, "Is it me? Is it you? Is it?" I think we get a pretty good feel for who's coming in, and I think it eases the pitchers down there their mind. When that phone rings late in the game, they know who's coming in.
Frank, before we run out of time with Larry, you follow the baseball as much as we do, and a question or two for Larry that you'd like to talk about?
No, I think Larry's covered everything that I've been thinking of. I've always been my wife and I both have always been a Boa fan. Way back when we first got married in '65, even when he was coming up, we thought that he was the best player out there.
I appreciate that.
We've have a good relationship, especially now that he's down in Florida with the Bull, and I think he's another guy. But I think
the other thing I think we have going for us, guys, is when you got guys playing, they're going to be free agents next year, like Bohm. He's coming in unbelievable shape. I'm expecting big things from him. You got Harp on the other corner, who's trying to fight this, even though it's blown out of proportion. He's using that, I think, to motivate himself. He said he's not elite anymore. I think he's going to show some people that he's still elite. There's no question about that. We got a right fielder, Garcia, who's had 2 not real good years, but the numbers before that were really good. I think he might generate some offense for us. He's a real good outfielder. And we're going to, include Crawford in center field. And Marshall probably start off in left field. So I like our lineup. I like our bullpen. I wish we had a little more depth. And again, spring training's not over yet. There could be a deal made. We could get rid of an infield or whatever. But I just think that this team is poised, and I think they're getting tired of reading everything about, the Phillies are going to win in the summer, but when the leaves turn brown, it's time to go home. I think they're tired of hearing about that.
How about Sousa going from right to left now? And how much of a change is that for him?
Oh, I don't.
Hello.
Hey, Mr. D-Led, how you doing?
Hello.
How you doing? You okay?
Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Good. I hope everything's well with you. Thank you for being on with us, and I'm going to put you in. We're just finishing up with Larry Boa.
Okay.
So I'll merge you in.
Oh, okay. Oh, Larry Boa.
Yes, sir. If you have any questions, you go ahead and ask him.
BP and everything, but these guys are ready to play right now because they don't want to embarrass themselves with this WBC. They're on a mission. You know, like Harp and Schwarber going to the WBC on our team. So they're looking forward to getting out of the gate quick.
We got about 3 minutes left there. Hey, go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up. I talked to the Bull about this. I'm sure you probably remember it. It goes back to '72, and you were all in Atlanta at the old Marriott, and it was the National JC Convention, and there was rain every day for several days, and you guys are hanging out in the lobby all over the hotel. Yeah, and I know Greg and Gene, my late wife and I offered them one of our cars to go shopping. And Frank Lucchese and I had a great conversation sitting in that lobby. And, go ahead.
I do remember that because it seemed like it wouldn't stop raining there. It was unbelievable.
It did, yeah. It was like 3 days.
Yeah, it was. It was unbelievable.
They're finding that out of Riviera right now. They're trying to get this golf tournament underway. And what a press conference Tiger had yesterday. Had two inches of rain on Tuesday, and yesterday they said they're going to get about an inch or another inch and a quarter. You're almost standing ankle deep in water out in Riviera when it rains like that.
Unbelievable.
Charlie's going to play at Florida State. His son.
Who's that?
Charlie, a Tiger's son. Charlie's going to play golf at Florida State University.
I didn't know that. Oh wow.
Yeah. Wow. Time.
Another name is that he already committed to Tennessee in baseball, but once that manager got the job for the Giants, he bailed out and he's going to Florida State. That's Jim Tomey's kid. He's a pretty good looking ball player.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So
if he's half the person his father is, he's one drunk of a guy.
Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that in Florida State.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's tremendous.
Well, Larry, I'll tell you, it's a pleasure to have you on at any time and take up a half hour of your time. It's very nice of you to join us every once in a while, and let's hope you get out of the gate in relatively good shape. As you said, keep your head above water until you get to June 1st, and then start to make the drive.
That sounds good, Don. I think that's the plan this year, and but I really do. Just listening to the guys talk, they're getting tired of coming up short here the last 3 years. So hopefully we can fix that this year and maybe have another parade down Broad Street. We'll see.
Would that be the best? Absolutely.
Yeah, it would be great.
I'm with you, partner. I'm with you. Larry, thank you so very, very much.
All right,
take care, Larry. Yeah, all right.
Bye-bye, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to move out.
No.
Atlanta, Georgia, where Roger is stationed right now. And we got Mr. Ledbetter, another Hall of Famer. We've been lucky enough last week. We had a Hall of Famer on from talking about the problems of trying to get these new people in, whether they be coaches or players, into the National Football League Hall of Fame. Well, Darrell Ledbetter is in the Hall of Fame. He went in this year. So, Darrell, first of all, welcome back to the show. And secondly, we got a lot of football to talk about. Give us an idea of what you think is going to happen in Atlanta first.
Yeah, no question about it. Thanks for having me. Yeah, they brought on a new coach, a new general manager, and added Matt Ryan as the president. So they got to try to move in a different direction after posting 8 consecutive losing football seasons.
Roger?
Well, Darrell, I just this afternoon I was at South Forsyth all day, so I stayed to see some regional action, and I met a gentleman went to Penn Charter class of '89. I said, "Oh, you and Matt Ryan?" He said, "No, I'm much older than Matt Ryan." And I think his son, he was doing the video. I think his son plays at Lambert High School because that's who he was doing the team he was doing the video. They were playing Central because the region started, so they have girl, boy, and it's a full afternoon and evening of high school basketball. But we talked to Ira Kaufman last week about the the Bill Belichick and everything. You're also a voter, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And do you feel, Ira feels they're going to have to make changes in the categories? Do you feel the same way about this?
Yeah, I do. If you want coaches to get in, you need to have the coaches in their own lane. And same thing for the contributors. The way the committee's constituted now, that's the only way we're going to get 80% of the vote. And that's another thing that got changed recently, the percentage of 80%. So, given your choices, a lot of guys on the committee are going to put players in over players who built the game in over others.
Daryl, they've got this conference call coming up, I guess, in the next couple of weeks with the players or the people that are involved in the voting, the 50 that have to get you into the Hall of Fame, 40 out of that 50 votes. And your thoughts about this? Well, they're going to have to change that. And secondly, what Ira talked about, and I agreed with him 100%, he said to the old timers, he said, if you talk about players that played in the 60s or 70s, or even late 50s, 60s, 70s, early 80s, if you have 25% of the people that are in the voting area that are 40 years old or younger, they don't know who these players even are.
Well, that's part of your job is to do the homework and do the research. I know, when Tom Brady was winning the 7th title, nobody was talking about Otto Graham winning 8. So, there's community involved, being on the committee to know the history of the game. The main tenet is, hey, can you write the history of the game without this guy? Or can you, but then you got to know the history of the game. So whether you saw him or not, you still got to do the homework and know how that position stacks, and the greatness of tight ends, or where does he fit in this group of safeties? Where does he fit? Darren Woodson, the guy who's probably, has been close, and there's some safeties jumped ahead of him. So we saw Drew Brees jump ahead of Eli this year. So, you got to know the history of the game. That's part of your job. Yeah, I didn't see Otto Graham ever play, but I know where his statue is in Cleveland, and so forth. I mean, I know who the great Fritz Pollard was, but, never saw him play. But that's part of your job is being a historian of the game, and doing your research to, so you can make a learned decision.
Roger? Well, Darryl, I'll tell you, with the new regime, and there's a young man who I saw in pictures. Of course, we're here in Atlanta, and that's Josh Blank. And I saw he was on the committee that did the interviewing and everything, and I gotta believe that he's got big plans in the management behind the scenes in the Falcons management. But I remember him 15 years ago being down there on the bench, picking up stuff and helping out and everything. So when he was a young kid, of course, he's now almost late 20s, right? But what do you think? Is he going to be a name we'll hear a lot about in the future with the Falcons?
Oh yeah, I think so. No question about it. He worked at the league office for 5 years. He's been around the team. I know last summer his job was following General Manager Terry Fontenot around to, when Terry was up at Pro Day at Georgia, he was there with him for that. So. He certainly, this is kind of his coming out party during this last search where he, was known that he was a part of the search committee. And good kid. I, talked to him throughout the time. They were, went to Elon and so forth. Really nice young guy. And he's trying to learn the business. And he might, he's certainly going to be an executive in the future. Well, he's an executive now. So.
Yeah, he's an executive now, right?
Daryl, the other thing that I touched on, and I thought terrifically so, is the fact that when we talk about Belichick, and I'll get your opinion on Belichick for, secondly, you know, the way you can only vote for like 3 out of 5 in that category, whether you're going to put a coach in or whether you're going to put, and they want to see that change too, to a different process. And do you think Belichick should have been in on the first ballot or should not have been in on the first ballot? Or do you think they should change the system?
Yeah, I thought he was in. I thought it was a walkthrough. I didn't think, there was a possibility that he would not get in. So, as far as the rules go, once you get separate categories, you can't it seems to me it's reasonable to want coaches to put them in the coaches category. They don't get in more than one coach. But you don't want to get a situation where you got, like an NBA type Hall of Fame where, you score 10,000 points, you're pretty much in. We still want to be selective. But, yeah, the vote for – how do you judge a coach versus the owner versus senior players? I mean, that's difficult. But people make their presentations, and then that's the duty you're charged with. And apparently enough people were in line with, voting another different way.
And also, Daryl, the owner of the Patriots, a lot of people thought he would go in too, and that didn't happen either. So we'll just have to wait to see what develops in next year or what rules you guys all make changes in as we look to this conference call. And the other thing is, are you in favor of everybody saying who they voted? I don't mean that they have to say it early, like happened this year that it came out early that Belichick wasn't going to get in. Are you in favor of everybody announcing who they voted for or not?
I don't really care. All once people know how we voted, they tell them.
You're open. You're open.
Yeah, I know. If they want them to know, they would say, hey, it's going to be open. If they don't, then I'm fine that way too.
Either way. Yeah, because Tony Dungy was, just taken to task because he said that he just was not going to release, open up about his selections because he felt he wanted to be fair to his brethren. But that's his business, and he doesn't have to tell you who he voted for.
Yeah, because I didn't want to know who you voted for so they can attack you.
That's right, so they can attack him. Exactly. Exactly right.
Well, it's going to be interesting because I think there are going to be a lot of changes made at this meeting. You fellas are all going to have this conference call because I think there are a lot of different directions. They want to know about the owners, the coaches, and releasing your vote, all that type of thing, and maybe make it mandatory that you have to. I know in baseball, you didn't have to tell you who you voted for, but we'll just have to wait to see. It's going to be in your ballpark, Darryl.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Looking forward to the meeting. As always, a hearty discussion. Also looking forward to us getting back to meeting in person and not on the virtual calls, which I think Jim Porter said we're going to do here moving forward.
Roger, now I know you get to talk to Matt. I'd love to talk to him too. One way or another we'll get some interview and have him on. But he seems to be really excited about, which I'm really happy for him. I think it was a great choice. I mean, he's just such a outstanding individual. And a football guy, and I think it's great. I think this will really help to stable. I think all the changes from top to bottom, I think will really help the Falcons not only in image with the fans, but I also think that on the field with stability. When you have football people and you don't have, anybody, you know the coach that's there now, he has been successful in the NFL, and he's a great offensive mind. Do you think that he'll be calling the plays, or do you think that he'll turn that over to somebody?
Yeah, Roger, you can turn it over to Tommy Reeves, who's coming in as the offensive coordinator, former quarterback at Notre Dame. Hasn't called plays full-time in the NFL. So, Coach is there to back him up if he needs to take over or not. But he wants to concentrate on coaching and bringing his team together as quickly as possible.
Oh, that's good. Well, we know his father, right, Don, for many years. Frank?
Yeah, basketball guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, at Penn, right?
Yeah.
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 And Darryl, a lot of people felt that last year, and even more so this year, that Atlanta was in a position to make a real run at the South. It just never really happened, whether it's coaching, although your coach did get fired, but he also got hired right away again, too. But at the same time, do you think that the Falcons are finally ready with this new regime to make a drive for the championship of the South?
No, I don't, because you can't keep changing systems and coaches every year. Every couple of years. So, it's the third coach in 5 years. They bring in a new system on the offensive side of the ball. Just too much constant change for you to say, oh, that's going to be the fix. That's going to get them going. So, it's going to, hopefully, folks, everything goes right. The kid recovers from his knee and he can play quarterback. He can learn a new system. They could run the ball. They're switching. It's just too many variables to say, oh, yeah, they're going to do it. So, no, I'm not that optimistic. But, folks need to be hopeful. It's not a big, they ended up being tied for first place, and they lost to the Jets and the Dolphins. So,
yeah.
They have enough to be there. But, can it all fit? Can you do all those changes and make them work and be successful? Will be one of the keys for the Falcons. And you got to fix the special teams.
Roger, we talked about this a lot last week, about the Super Bowl game. You were there, and we talked about the stature of Josh McDaniels. He didn't seem to really have a good game plan, able to adjust. Did you feel that way about the Super Bowl, about his work?
Yeah, going in, he's one of the most highly decorated guys with been in 10 Super Bowls. Wasn't expecting him to be, caught off guard by all the blitzing. But in game, you thought he would adjust better to it and had his quarterback ready to go. The young quarterback was seeing stuff and reacting too slow, and that led to all the sacks and so forth. So I'm sure he had answers for him. It was just a matter of they weren't able to execute them.
Darryl Ledbetter, Hall of Famer, our guest this half hour, following Larry Bowl, and of course, Larry, one of the great Philadelphia Phillies of all time. And Darryl, the one thing we were very concerned about, not only on the program, but talking about with the number of writers and broadcasters for the Super Bowl, we were just surprised that he didn't change his offensive system, at least in the second half, to get rid of the ball, give his quarterback a chance to get rid of the ball, because obviously his offensive line wasn't going to be able to protect him, and he had no chance. He was harassed from the minute he took the snap to the minute he threw it away.
Yeah, you thought in that situation when they're coming like that, you try to hit them with some screens and some draws and stuff like that to slow them down. We never really saw that. So I don't know if they didn't have them in their game plan or package for the game, but they didn't counter that in a traditional football manner.
Roger? Yeah, well, he didn't. That's exactly right. And do you think that maybe the Patriots were oversold? They didn't have the strongest schedule But my feelings are, you play, you win games against the teams that are on the schedule. I mean, you don't have any control over that because it's all based on the standings from the previous year. But do you think they were oversold a little bit?
No, I think that defense was pretty good. Not as great as Seattle's, but the offense was kind of, hey, chuck and duck it. They throw it down the field and, hit Boutte or throw it to Diggs underneath. And, if nothing was there, he'd run. It wasn't like they were opposing offense like the Chiefs. I mean, I got to see them in the Falcons game up there where they were 24-3. And he pretty much ran every time on second down. They told me to watch that. And the Falcons were able to keep a guy home and stop it a little bit. So they were pretty, by the time you get to 16, 17 games, your tendencies are there. You took away a deep ball from him and you rushed him. And he didn't find his intermediate and underneath receivers. He's second-year quarterback, not a lot of experience, and so they were able to get to him.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I get really frustrated about these first down plays that are run up the middle. Why not try something different, like a rollout? Okay, and because I see so many times they'll pick one or 2 yards. And it's across the board. I mean, in the league. I mean, the Eagles did it. So many times. And I know the Falcons have done it. But I've seen a lot of games where they do it, and I just get frustrated with that.
Well, the people in Atlanta were like, the first play of the game was Bijan to the right in 17 games straight.
That's a good one. That's a good analogy.
Well, Darryl, the last time we spoke, we talked so much about how the league had made an adjustment there, and the fact that how many teams on the very first play of the game throw a quick pass out into the flat, whether it be left or right, and start to move the ball that way, as opposed to, as Roger said, just hit the middle of the line and trying to set up your running game right off the bat on the very first play. A lot of changes have been made in that particular area, but one other thing I'd like you to because you've been in this game a long time now, the number of coaching changes. We have 8 or 9 coaching changes at the end of the season. And as you just indicated, even in Atlanta now, with 3 coaches in 5 years, how can you get stabilization of the bottom teams if they keep changing everybody and don't have any kind of stability?
Yeah, all the owners are more involved than they've been in the past. They've shortened that window from, used to be 5 years, used to be 4. Now, if you get it done in 1 or 2, they're firing you. So, and then they talk about wanting to be sustainable winning teams. But the teams that have been able to sustain things and even rebuild things, they don't fire the general manager every couple of years. They don't fire the coach every couple of years. I'm talking about Green Bay, where the GM basically been the same guy since Ryan Wood started in '92.
Yeah.
Him, Ted Thompson, and now the new disciple. Same thing in Seattle. John Snyder, who's the Ryan Wood guy, has been there. So the formula is get a talent evaluator and get a coach. And, stay out of the way. But too many of the owners now are getting in the way. You got a lady walking the sidelines in Indianapolis. Jerry's been in the way for years. Had been to playoffs in '92. Let the football team, the Steelers. They never changed GM. They finally changed the coach this year. But they've been in the playoffs. They haven't had a losing season in almost 2 decades. Yeah. So, why are you trying to make this harder than it needs to be? Get a good GM, get a good coach, and get out the way.
Roger, that there's two excellent coaches, and Sean McDermott and also Mike Tomlin, who were roommates at William and Mary, teammates, roommates, and both of them are not coaching. And, and both of them have been to the Super Bowl. Tomlin won. I mean, Sean was part of staff, at going to the Super Bowl with the Eagles and I guess, others. But I think they're great coaches. And I guess what will they do? Sit out a year and then see what happens next year?
Yeah, I think so. Because, I had one coach to tell me that, hey, I don't want another reclamation job. Either, just bad jobs. And I think they were, down to like Arizona, Tennessee, and, some of those.
The Raiders. Yeah.
It was 10 openings. So, but by the time McDermott gets fired after the playoff game, there's nothing left. Right. If you thought Atlanta was a good job, it's already gone. So if you thought Miami was a good job, it was already gone. But I heard that the coach is like, hey, I'm not just taking one so, I could get like Brian Callahan and get fired in the second year, or get like Raheem missed the playoffs with a team that, probably should have went to the playoffs. But and he gets fired. So yeah, McDermott and Tomlin can sit back and cherry pick, kind of like how Sean Payton did with Denver. He went in there and he took that one. He knew the contract was there with Russell Wilson, but he fixed that in a couple of years and built that team up through the inside out. And I think Tomlin and McDermott can kind of wait and try to find a better situation than what was available to him at this time around.
Darrell Ledbetter, our special guest, Hall of Fame writer, Atlanta. And, of course, we've talked to Darrell many, many times, and we will continue as the football seasons continue down through the years. The Chiefs and Andy, we've had a little relationship with Andy, obviously, because of Philadelphia. But he's got himself a job to do because right now Mahomes has got to take a salary cut or leave some room in the cap for some kind of a move. He's also got three players that he's really having some difficulty. They're going to have Taylor they're going to have to worry about. Jones they're going to have to worry about. Mack they're going to have to worry about. And, of course, Rashid Rice is going through the trials right now. So Andy's got a tough off season in front of him.
Yeah, no doubt. Even they made the move with Mahomes. They still got more money. They're still over the cap. But, those things work themselves out. I think the biggest thing for Andy is he got Eric Bieniemy back from Chicago. Because we saw where, the Chiefs, the inner workings of the offense wasn't at a high level. And, Eric can tighten up the screws on that and make sure they get back on the right path offensively, no matter who the talent's there. But yeah, they'll be fine. They've had, they knew they had good players and they had to pay them. They knew this day was coming. And they could figure out if they're gonna kick it down the road or move away from some of the older players who are, might be ready to retire.
You think Kelsey will call it a career?
I do think so. We've seen a decline in his play over the last couple of years. But I think out of respect, they'll give him a chance to decide which way he wants to go.
Roger.
I felt the same way, Darrell, or I feel the same way, because I think that, he and his brother, they really have something going on now. With a TV, his brother's got that TV show in Philly. That's a lot of fun. And I think that they have great careers in the media. Already there, Jason. And so I think you're right. I did see that what you mentioned about Mahomes renegotiated his contract to give them some room. But we've talked about Andy many times. What do you think his plan might be for the future? Do you think he'll ever retire, or they'll just have to cart him away, or do you think that there would? If he won another Super Bowl, I think he would retire. But let's say he doesn't win a Super Bowl in 2 or 3 years. What do you think his future would be?
Yeah, if they can't get it going this year, this might be it. The last time he won the Super Bowl, he was like, no, I'm feeling good. I'm going to keep going. But he wasn't losing like he did, last year. To where they weren't even in the hunt late in the season. So another season like that might be all it needs. And, he wants to go enjoy stuff at the end here. But, they're going to try to gear it up and make one more run at it. And it's like the AFC was stacked. With Buffalo fell off, Bengals fell off, and then Baltimore fell off. So that paved the way for the Patriots to break through, and they won up to the task in the Super Bowl.
Darryl, you've been through many negotiations, both in the National Football League. Are they going to settle this? Are they going to settle that? And they finally do. But right now, we've got an unusual situation on the baseball front. I know this is a little bit out of your category, but maybe you have an idea of what you may think about it. Tony Clark and what's happening right now with the head of the Players Association is withdrawing yesterday, announcing that he was going to step down because of, I guess, a couple of reasons. One, financial with the association, which is being investigated, and the other, of course, the relationship. Any thoughts on the baseball situation, Darryl?
Comparatively, they've been doing a lot better job of getting their players guaranteed money and getting the money to the players. They've done a much better job than the NFLPA has with that. And so a little surprised. But, yeah, there always are problematic issues with the inner workings of the union. When you get years of stability like they had, under Gene Upshaw, that's kind of unprecedented. So, the unions are pretty volatile with the players changing out everything.
Yes, sir. We're just getting ready to call you.
Well, so Candace is out of town. She's at spring training, which is...
That's no excuse, sir. I'm sorry. That's no excuse, sir. You're 10 minutes late for calling in. So I'll have to dock your pay.
No. Your email's at 8:30.
Yeah, I know, but you always call it 20 after.
Typically.
So therefore,
she called. You can't dock me for.
Oh yeah.
Supreme
I can do whatever I want. It's my station.
so what you're saying is, as an overachiever, I get penalized. That's how the world works, isn't it? You got it down pat, man.
Yeah. They put you into the system.
All right, cool.
Okay. Hold on here. Yes, sir.
Hey, Frank.
How you doing?
Are we doing the show?
Yeah, right now. Hello? You there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Go back over here. Get you merged in.
Squared away.
I don't know why this isn't merging in. I figured. Okay. Let me call you right back.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That was, I don't know what happened.
Either do I. Hold on. Hello? Hello?
Okay, we back?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. We're all back?
Yeah, well, Darryl's not, but I'm trying to get the other two boys in. For some reason, it's not merging. Hold on.
Okay.
There we go.
And let them know.
Go ahead, Mike.
Should we just keep going? Or
Yeah, Mike's in. Mike's in already, and Doug's on the line.
Okay, we got him. Okay, Mike and Doug are our next two guests, and we'll switch over. We apologize. The line dropped out momentarily with Darryl, and I just want to thank him so much. Hall of Fame writer, both in Green Bay as well as. Hello.
Okay, now it's working.
Okay.
Yep.
What's going on there? So now we're going to go between golf, soccer, and a little bit of everything here with our next two guests. Mike Zimzak's going to be with us next, along with Doug Hamilton. Let me go to Doug Hamilton first, and RPGA professional, master professional. We saw Tiger's press conference yesterday at great length, as a matter of fact, at Riviera. They've gotten back to Riviera for this year, although a lot of rain. And Doug, first of all, it's going to be very interesting to see whether Tiger can make it to the Masters. He left it open, did not give a definitive answer. He said he was just leaving it in the he's waiting to see how his back turns out. But what a tournament last weekend. I don't know how much of it you had a chance to see in Phoenix, but it was terrific.
Yeah, I mean, I think last couple weeks have been, highly contested and come down to, the last round and some of the last holes there. Scotty Scheffler's just continuing his dominance in terms of how well he plays. The one guy I was watching, I may mispronounce his name. I think is it Bhatia, left-handed guy. He finished one shot back.
Right.
Yeah,
the thin man.
Yeah, he's playing some really good golf. What's the other guy's name? Gotterup, I think his name is.
He's from Freehold, New Jersey, my boy. He's down the Jersey Shore. He's won 3 tournaments so far and finished in the British Open. I think he finished second or third. And what a great story he is. They've got to pick this week. If you're a gambler, they've got him picked to win this week. I don't particularly follow that, but I read in the paper today that they're putting him on. I think he's 25-1, and they're putting him up as one of the best bets of the week.
Yeah, I find that awful difficult. Like, when you talk, I know, Don, you have to know your way around, the racetrack and the race card and how to bet horses and stuff like that. I mean, you've got a previous history. You've got, how they've worked out, how they've warmed up, like all the things. Like you can see that in a racing form. The thing that so when they make the odds, obviously then that becomes pari-mutuel with regard to people that bet and how they change. But I don't know how they place odds on human beings to win golf tournaments. Like that's crazy. Like what are they? I mean, I know gambling is gambling and betting is whimsical at best. But when you talk about what makes him the favorite, is it based on how he's played recently? Is it based on something he's done there in the past? Is it based on the field at large? I mean, like, what is happening there? You know what I mean? Like, and we've talked about this on the show a number of times with anybody can win on any given week. I mean, like if somebody said at starting the season, you can pick one player and you bet on that one player to win a tournament every week, you'd have to pick Scotty Scheffler. I mean, if he won, how many times is Scotty Scheffler going to win this year? 3, 5, 4? I don't know what it. I mean, that's got to be your best bet.
I would hope so.
Not only that, I mean, look how he closed the other day. I mean, he was 11 strokes behind after the first day, and I mean, he was with 9 holes to go. He was in first place, 20 under par.
What?
They caught him. Moriyama caught him and beat him by 1. But he still was right there. I mean, he's 11 strokes behind after the first day. Unbelievable.
The bigger story in golf for the week would have to be Anthony Kim, winning the LIV tournament or whatever. And I don't know how much you know about Anthony Kim, but he was a rising star, played in the Ryder Cup. And I think he actually may have played with Tiger in one of them. But, he went away. He basically didn't play golf for like almost 15 or 16 years. And I read an article or I saw something about him that he was literally a drug addict and he was using drugs in between holes on tour. And, he's gotten himself back together. He won the tournament. I mean, what a great story, that is.
I'll tell you, it's you follow these sports, it's just amazing what happened. Let's get Mike in for a second. They had a little fisticuff action on the soccer front over the pond this last weekend. It looked like they had a little fight that they weren't too happy about out there, Mike.
They had A lot of them.
Racial slurs.
Well, there was that issue over in Portugal yesterday in a game between yesterday in a game between Benfica and Real Madrid, directed at Vinicius Jr., who is a Brazilian player of African extract. He's a dark-skinned Brazilian player. It's not the first time in his career that he's reported some 20 incidents of racial comments. And he said that after scoring a goal, that one of the Benfica players directed a racial slur at him. So right now, FIFA and UEFA are in the midst of investigating it to see what is happening. So what happened, he said that the slur was directed at him. The player who he said whatever I said, he misunderstood it. So somewhere in the middle of these two is truth, and we'll find out. But they've been very clear at both clubs that there's no room for this sort of behavior in sport, and it's definitely something that has plagued European soccer for a long time, and they're doing what they can to combat the issue. But I know there was a game today in Scotland that ended up with 3 red cards, which is not something that you do. So that ended up with 10-9. That's not something that you see happen a lot. So I got to go back and watch the replay of that to see exactly why all of these guys decided that they needed to take an early day off from playing.
Mike, I know you follow. We talk hockey as well as basketball and football and the Commanders and so forth. I don't know whether you had a chance to see any of the hockey today or you had any comment on that.
I definitely saw the goal go in the overtime win for Team USA over the Swedish.
How about you, Doug? Were you a hockey fan today for the Olympics or no?
Yeah, I had at my indoor location, I had a corporate event for from 2:30 to 5, where I'm kind of the on-hand golf professional, and I'm schmoozing and teaching and doing different things. And they happened to have it on one of the TVs there, and I had seen some of the game where it was 1-0, and then I kind of lost track of it through what I was doing. And by the time I got home, I had to look it up to see what the final score there was. So 2-1 in overtime. Was it Jack Hughes that scored, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I'm digging the whole. Like I thought the Four Nations last year event was phenomenal. This gives you an opportunity to root for some players that you probably wouldn't during the season. As a Caps fan, you're certainly not rooting for. But some of these young, talented hockey players in the United States team are so stinking good. It's so fun to watch them. They got a couple tough matchups left to go here, but obviously the goal here is gold medal, and we'd love to play Canada and beat them, I think, in the gold medal. So that would be fun to watch here.
I'll tell you, there's so much going on right now. It's almost impossible to follow it all, to be honest with you. You jump around, you try to. Right now at 66, 65, Creighton is ahead of UConn, and that is a very, very big game being played up in Connecticut tonight. St. John's is coming up later tonight. That's another big game. So to try to follow the basketball, try to follow the NBA, try to follow the hockey and the Olympics, try to follow football and all the stories.
And Butler's up over Georgetown, I think, by 3 or 5, something like that. And you're right. And then you got the Alabama-Arkansas. Did you see that score?
Unbelievable.
79. Unbelievable games tonight.
And ESPN did a big piece on Jackson today, and just a thought about what's happened to him over the last couple of years. How much is he going to be able to run the ball now as we go into 26, and what's going to happen there? You're right on top of that one, Doug. Your thoughts about Jackson going into this season? What is he going to be 30 this year, right?
Yeah, I think he just turned 29. The first thing that has to happen is the announcement of some kind of either extension or simple restructure, if you will, of his contract to get us some salary cap relief. But I think the bigger story here in Baltimore, and if I listen to, my old standby 105.7, Jason Lockenfora is not really much in favor of this Declan Doyle offensive coordinator hire. And, the guy's never played, he's never called a play, and he's only been in the Ben Johnson scheme for 1 year. So I think they didn't really surround him with any gigantic offensive minds, to kind of tutor him, if you will. So I think there's reason for concern, to look at our offense. But to your point, Lamar Jackson, look, he wasn't super healthy last year. He missed a series of games, and even when he did play, I don't think he was 100%. So he didn't really run the ball effectively last year. So I think that has to be, a phase, if you will, of this offense from an installation standpoint that still allows him to be a dual threat quarterback. I suspect that we can get one more good year out of Derrick Henry. He seems to be pretty aged and timeless, with reference to what he's done the past 2 seasons. The bigger question marks, I think, heading into free agency are re-signing Tyler Linderbaum, which they seem to be at odds with his contract, shoring up the offensive line through the draft, and potentially getting, Jesse Minter some tools on defense with regard to pass rushers, edge rushers, etc. There's a lot of contract concepts with Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith, a lot of things that need to be resolved here. So yeah, it's just the to-do list is long in Baltimore. My wife is currently, I told Frank, he said I was late calling, but she's at spring training and they're doing a lot of different things with their photo shoots and ops and stuff like that. But there's some potentially disturbing news coming out of what I'm hearing that suggests Jordan Westbrook's injury, his oblique injury, is worse than they thought it was, and that he may have to have some version of surgery that keeps him out a good portion of the season. So, pair that with Jackson Holiday. We just started spring training. I mean, Tyler O'Neill's been, a walking injury list for most of his career. So we're already off to a auspicious start here, let's say.
Mike, just the opposite. Washington, I thought they showed a lot of caution. They didn't take any chances with their quarterback. They didn't give him a chance to get himself hurt again and really maybe ruin his career. So what's the situation in Washington right now? I would think restraint was the right answer.
I think that restraint was the right answer last year, that they saw they needed to protect him from himself as much as anything, to give him a shot to come into this off season and to next season as healthy as possible.
Right.
Now, just like the Ravens up the road, the Commanders have a laundry list of free agents that they need to deal with. Laramie Tunsil is got 1 year left on his deal. They're going to need to and want to negotiate a contract with him. I suspect that Deebo Samuel will be a free agent. I can't see where they arrive at a deal that would be where they're going to be able to meet with their reluctance to pay guys top dollar who are going to be on a long-term basis for guys who are going to be going into their 30s versus his one for probably at least a longer-term deal for some security. But if they're able to get that done, I'm sure they'd like to have him back. How are they going to get? What are they going to get as far as upgrades on the defense and the offense? They need a lot of pieces, and to be honest, they don't have a lot of draft picks to work with because of the Deebo Samuel trade, the Marshawn Lattimore trade, and the Laramie Tunsil trade. So they don't have a lot of draft capital to work with, which means that they're not going to be able to plug a lot of those holes with younger players. They're going to have to go out and test free, go out and rely heavily on free agency. Last year, 2 years ago, they did. Everything worked out. They got a lot of guys on 1 year deals. and it got him to the NFC Championship game. Last year, all of those deals kind of didn't work out in their favor. So this is a really big offseason in Commanderland for Adam Peters, if not for anybody else, because he's going to have to show going into his third year that he can put together not only a competitive, but a more sustainable roster than they've worked with for the previous 2 years.
Roger?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to both Mike and Doug about a couple of things. Number one, Doug, how about Charlie Woods picking Florida State, where he's going to go to college and play golf?
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Tiger was a California kid. He went to Stanford, and now he's got his son, and he lives in Florida. So, I think
Jupiter. He's in Jupiter.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, I'm just glad the kid's going to college. You know what I mean? I think we, as a society, want to push, kids and athletes into, professional stardom at a very young age. And, we lose sight of, important things like kids being kids and doing kid-like things. I think, going to college is a wonderful experiment and experience for, individuals to grow up and learn how to budget time. And being a student athlete is obviously very challenging at that level and the demand that's placed on them. From traveling and training to practice time and on-course time, you can't forget about your studies. And I think it's great the kids going to school.
Hey, guys, there's one thing that we're missing here, and I hope it doesn't affect Charlie or his team, but the athletic department at Florida State University is now $526 million in the hole between Nell and travel expenses and everything else. They're going to have to start paring down somewhere, and because the Alumni Association is not going to pick that up. On the other hand, it was announced at a meeting last night that as soon as Ron DeSantis has finished as governor, he's going in as president of Florida State University.
Wow, how about that?
Mike, any thoughts?
I mean, I don't think that Charlie Woods is going to be really hurting for NIL money.
No.
He's going to be a drain on Florida State's NIL resources and the athletic department's budget. If anything, he might help it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
he's drawing fans,
pretty much write a check and cover that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that was the thought. With 500 and something million in the bank. Hey, let's go talk to Tiger. I'm pretty sure that he has that in a sofa cushion somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, look what he's raised for his foundation. They did a big piece yesterday on that at the press conference. I mean, his foundation has been a gigantic success.
Yeah, Mike, I wanted to talk a little bit about golf. We already talked. I wanted to talk about soccer. I mentioned that Darrell Ledbetter, Arthur Blank's son, one of them, Josh. He's like mid-20s, late 20s. And he was on the committee to pick the new president, Matt Ryan, the general manager, coach. He's getting very involved. And he was also up in NFL for a while in the executive training program. Well, the young man was quite a soccer player at Elon. And I'm just wondering how he'll get involved in overall operations of the Arthur Blank businesses. But I think it's interesting to have a young man who was a really great soccer player at Elon. So it might be good for the Atlanta United, to turn things around.
Since they won the MLS Cup, it's been a steady downward trend. So perhaps his knowledge of sports that he's gained from working with his dad in the NFL and things like that, plus his background as a player, can help. It can come in and help them, because one of the biggest issues that they've had is they just have not been able to identify the correct talent. They've got players in, they've spent money to do it, but the product on the field has just not panned out. You know, over the course of the last couple of seasons, I think I made the point last year, over the course of the last 2 seasons, they have spent more on players over the last 2 years than the Philadelphia Union have spent in their entire existence. And yeah, sure, they have a prior MLS Cup to show for it, which the Union don't, but still, when you look at the 2 teams, you know, I know 2 seasons ago wasn't great. Last season, the Union won the Supporters Shield. They were playing today in the CONCACAF Champions League. They had a game down in Trinidad that they won 5-0. I think it would be hard to say that the return on investment has been better for the Union than it has been for Atlanta United.
Yeah.
You can spend a lot of money in soccer, and you can spend yourself broke, and it's just not necessarily pan out. We've seen that with Atlanta United. We've seen that to a certain extent with the LA Galaxy. This year is going to be interesting to see how it works out for DC United, who have been probably the biggest spenders in the offseason. They've basically overhauled their entire roster in an effort to get more people to pay attention to the men's team in DC as opposed to the women's team. And hey, look, they could come out the gates and get off to a flying start and everything work together perfectly, or it could collapse like I've seen it happen many times in that league. I always say when we get to this point in the season, the margins for MLS roster construction are very, very small. And, you know, you got to hope that that group of 30 guys that you put together can function, do it well, because it's a very long season. It's a draining season. And there's not much room for error for these front offices when they go to put together rosters.
No, you can put together an answer to this. That is, you've worked on it from both sides, having gone to college and played baseball as opposed to golf at college, and then getting your PGA professional title. But at the same time, Charlie going in now as a freshman, his father, one of the most famous golfers of all time, it's very, very difficult. You know, you say, here he is going to go to Florida State. But, I mean, I think it's terrific because he's not going to necessarily be trying to go into the pros right away, where he's having a very tough time getting to that kind of a talent level.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is all about development for him, and you know, the social acceptance, if you will, of being a college student. And you know, your professors, when you sit in their class, they really don't care how much money you have or who your dad is or where you come from or what sport you play. So, you know, to some degree, I think it's a good humbling experience for him to have to, you know, draw on his own merits to be able to produce something that's, you know, worthwhile for him. And, you know, being a student athlete is not an easy task. You know, I mean, I spent many hours on buses, and, you know, when a teacher gives you the syllabus and says, hey, you know, these things are due at these dates, that's what it means. So it doesn't matter whether you're on an airplane or a bus or a golf course or standing in right field, like, you have stuff to do and you have to produce that. So it's budgeting time. It's, you know, you travel and practice and play, and you miss a lot of classes. You know, so you have to have an infrastructure of other athletes that are willing to help you when it comes to study time. You know, and look, kids want to be kids. You know, they want to go out and party and drink and carry on and do different things, but, you know, you have to be able to prioritize, you know, things that are important to you, and your grades have to be one of them, because if you don't get good grades, you're not playing golf, you're not playing baseball. So I think all these things are going to be good life lessons for him.
Roger?
Just about, you know, follow up on that. That's a great point, Doug, because, you know, on the buses, and, you know, here we are. Don was talking about Creighton and UConn. Creighton's from Omaha, Nebraska. And the other night they were playing in Butler in Indiana. And Don and I have talked about this many times off the air. You look at Temple in the American football or All-America Conference. I mean, they're all over the country. and the expense and everything. And it's not like, you know, you have a 2 or 3 or 4 hour bus ride, you know, to go to a game. You're talking about 5, 6 hours on a plane, you know, and waiting at the airport. You're exactly right about it's a very tough road to haul as a student athlete if you're a real student and not somebody that has gone in and done 2 classes in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you know, I sat on a bus and played in the Atlantic 10. So Rhode Island was one of the teams we played against. So what's the travel time on a bus from DC to Rhode Island? And
6 hours, 7 hours.
I mean, you know, we went to Upper New York. You know, so there's, you know, I mean, we played a lot of cards. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, you know, if you have work to do, it's got to get done. And you know, it's. I mean, look, these student athletes have it a lot easier than most people. They have free range to, you know, tutors and academic advisors and, you know, all these things. But, you know, at the end of the day, they have to do the work themselves. And I'm not so sure that happens on a regular basis, you know.
Well, Mike, you tried out a few schools, and you finally Villanova. I know you're a Villanova man as well, and, so you knew about managing your time.
Well, I did not. I went to Villanova for graduate school. I never had to worry about being a student athlete, but I did work with them, and I understand exactly what Doug is talking about. And what Roger's referring to, you got a school like I was watching UCLA play against Michigan and Michigan State. So now they're spending, you know, a whole week at a time on the East Coast or in the Midwest. So, you know, you have even less time in class, and, you know, it is a tough thing when you got to balance practice with the work. And if you're a legitimate student athlete, it's a lot of it's a very hectic schedule. With the rewards come a lot of responsibility, and it takes a lot to be able to compete as a student athlete, a true student athlete, especially at a Division I level. So, but I'm sure that, you know, Charlie Woods is going to use the best of this opportunity. You know, I don't think that I know he has the expectations of his last name, but he's able to go to Florida. He's able to Florida State. He's going to be able to play golf. He's going to be able to develop his game. He's going to be able to get an education. And I think that this could be an all-around positive experience for him.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think you're absolutely right. And I think one of the things that you look at for the young people that really want to go to school and not just jump from one school to another to get, you know, the money or whatever the case may be. You know, I just think it's a great thing to have that opportunity. And yeah, he's certainly in that position right now. He's going to grow while he's there. And maybe you get a chance to have to play a few hoops with that kid that's 7 foot 7 at Florida State.
Tick, tick, tock, tick, tick, tock.
Oh, we're out of time. Doug, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Mike, thank you very much. Roger, a lot of pleasure. Frank, good job at the controls. And we thank Larry Vola, certainly. And always a pleasure to talk to Darrell Ledbetter and all the people that joined us tonight on the program. Hope somebody learned a little something along the way. A lot of fun. Take care. Catch you next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, these programs are brought to you each and every night of the week in grateful appreciation to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, men and women police and fire services. When you're out there and you see somebody in uniform, please let them know you know they're there. These programs are dedicated to those who've lost their lives in line of duty. Deputy Robert Anthony Carroll, Patrolman David Curtis, Patrolman Jeffrey Colcap, Patrolman Jeffrey Yazowitz, Sergeant Thomas Batinger, San Diego Officer Mike Hendler, Sergeant Tom Wilson, Charlotte County Sheriff's Department, Deputy Ricky Childers, and Randy Bell, Patrolman Charlie Condit, Tarpon Springs Police Department, Deputy Chief Mike Godwin, Philadelphia Fire Department, Lieutenant Joyce Craig Lewis, Philadelphia Fire Department, Sergeant James O'Connor, Philadelphia Police Department, Sergeant Chris LeBake, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Mike Zerba, Newcastle County Police, Patrolman Anafo Crispin, Lakeland PD, Deputy Josh Meyer, Nassau County Sheriff's Department, Captain Matt Letourneau, Philadelphia Fire Department. Captain Chris Leach, Wilmington Fire Department. Lieutenant Arth Hope, Wilmington Fire Department. Lieutenant Jerry Ficus, Wilmington Fire Department. Chief Jimmy Ford, Wilmington Fire Department. Chief Al Hogle, Longboat Key Police Department. Deputy Mike Hargrove, Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. Trooper Chelsea Richards, Florida Highway Patrol. Trooper Joe Bullock, Florida Highway Patrol. Trooper Zachary Ben, Florida Highway Patrol. Sergeant Chris Fitzgerald, Philadelphia Police Department. Sergeant Ramon Mendez, Philadelphia Police Department. Chief Corey Compantier, Buffalo Creek Fire Department. Deputy Ronnie Ronazinski, Manatee County Sheriff's Department, and Patrolman Zachary Butterfield, Bradenton Police Department. My brothers and sisters, although you may be 10-7 at this point in time, at some time we'll be 10-10 at the table of the Lord. Until that time, may the roads rise up to meet you. May the winds be always at your back. May the rains fall softly on your fields and the sun shine lightly on your face. Until we meet again, may the good Lord keep you and your family always in the palm of his hands. Good night, God bless, and have a great week.